From this to this. And now the spotlight is on him. Jude Bellingham's current season has been a mixed bag.
But he just seems, and he'll probably say, to the media, no, I'm okay, we're winning games. But I think deep down there is a little frustration in there that thus far.
So the real question is, what is going on with Jude Bellingham? And is he actually bad? By this time last year, Bellingham was flying. He'd already scored on his La Liga and Champions League debuts, had match-winning goals in both competitions, featured for England, and was already being mentioned as the best player in the world at the time. Heck, if the Ballon d'Or had somehow been given to the best player in the world at the time back then, it would have been Bellingham. This season, however, Bellingham hasn't been the same. Or has he? Safe to say, the current version of Jude Bellingham is new to Real Madrid fans. But the truth is, anyone who's watched him play in previous years knows this is the original Bellingham on display. This Bellingham, who has scored just 1 goal for Real Madrid this season, and 2 in all competitions for club and country so far, is the one Real Madrid paid €103 million for. See guys, the biggest problem is the Bellingham debate so far this season has been his lack of goals. But the truth is, he's become a victim of his success.
Yo estoy muy satisfecho de su trabajo porque trabaja mucho en el campo, siempre presente, compite, lucha, se sacrifica. La verdad es que no ha marcado los goles que ha marcado el año pasado, pero la sorpresa no es este año, la sorpresa ha sido el año pasado que ha marcado un montón de goles que nadie esperaba.
As Carlo Ancelotti said, Bellingham took everyone by surprise last year when he started bagging goals. No one expected it. Now, this was partly down to the formation Carlo Ancelotti used, which we'll talk about as this video progresses. But the idea behind this is that Bellingham isn't scoring goals doesn't mean he's had a bad or below average season. In fact, he's far from that.
But yeah, that's where my focus is at. I think the first half was probably more goals, the second half not as many goals. I think from the outside world you guys view it a lot on the numbers and the goals, but I actually think I've probably improved the more I've played. I've been a lot more involved in the other parts of the game. I think I've assisted a lot more in the second half of the season.
Bellingham himself made this statement just before the Champions League final against Dortmund at the end of last season. And you could compare that period to what we're seeing now. After his explosive start to the season, in the second half of the campaign, the goals tailed off. But as Bellingham remarked, that he wasn't scoring as many goals didn't mean he'd regressed. He'd improved. That's what we're seeing this season.
But he wanted every single ball. Whenever I see him, he doesn't shy away. He wants the ball. And I think that the system, and this is why you have to give a lot of credit to managers, the system that Ancelotti put for him, 4-3-1-2, he answered the call.
This version of Jude Bellingham, the one Thierry Henry is praising here, he's a hard-working technical player in midfield who understands the game and understands the concept of space, positioning and how it works. Truth is guys, Bellingham's game has never been about goals, and that's saying something. I mean yeah, last season he bagged 23 goals in all competitions, Real Madrid's top scorer in La Liga, but the season before he had 14 goals in all competitions in 2022-23. 2021-22, he had just 6. Real Madrid knew what they were getting, and that's been the case ever since.
I think it's rare to find a player with this kind of quality, and it's rare to find this kind of quality at 20 years old. I think he has a possibility to improve.
Ancelotti keeps referring to his maturity in his understanding of the game, and not the goals. And that's because, while they understood he could play in that number 10 role, the main idea with Bellingham arriving at the club wasn't to become Madrid's highest scorer or compete for awards like that. It was for a different role. That's what we're seeing this season. Getting down to it, when looking at the setup for Madrid last season, Carlo Ancelotti came up with a brilliant plan. Going forward, the team played in a 4-3-1-2 system, and that meant 3 midfielders acted as the base in midfield, while Bellingham became the number 10, or top of the diamond system in the middle. This, guys, is the reason he was scoring so many goals from late runs and arrivals in the box last season, because he was strategically positioned and had the licence to do so. With Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo occupying both flanks, It's almost as if Bellingham became a false nine down the middle, in the sense that while the action was happening in either flank, he could drift into the box unnoticed or be the finishing piece to team moves. This season though, all that has changed, and it's thanks in large part to this guy. Kylian Mbappé has arrived, and this ultimately meant that Carlo Ancelotti now has to change a winning setup. They've gone from the 4-3-1-2 to the 4-3-3 system. Now, it is possible to question Ancelotti as to why he's decided to change a winning formula. But then again, Vinicius Jr., Mbappé, Bellingham, Rodrigo, he somehow had to find a way to fit all these guys into the team. And this just happens to be the best bet. The new tactical setup has invariably affected Bellingham's positioning. From being the guy playing in that free attacking role, Bellingham has now become a box-to-box midfield at Madrid. And this means his primary duty is to contribute to both the attacking and defensive phases of play for the team, a job that requires a lot of stamina, endurance and constant running. Bellingham is now a proper midfielder in the sense that if he's going to be judged based on this, then it's about looking at other criteria that don't include goals. He's currently 4th in the team in terms of key passes, 4th in dribbles completed, and 2nd in terms of passes completed this season, just behind Luka Modrić. When it comes to defensive actions, he's top of the list in terms of tackles per 90 and 3rd in terms of interceptions. The stats ain't lying, they're clearly showing that Bellingham has been just as influential to the team as he was last season. The only thing missing is the goals. To be fair to him, Madrid as a team haven't exactly been at their best this season. A 4-0 El Clasico defeat to Barcelona at the Bernabeu, followed by a 3-1 loss to AC Milan in the same stadium just days later. And they've been under the spotlight for the wrong reasons. The team has struggled in these games, not just Bellingham. So if we know his game isn't about goals, then the next question is, just how good is Jude Bellingham? For this one, I'll let his teammates answer this.
Jude is, I think he showed to everyone what kind of player and what talent he is. But what most surprised me about him, because I didn't know him, I see him playing and this, and I heard things about him. But what most surprised me about him was his mentality.
Extremely mature for his age, at 38, Luka Modrić has seen, played with and played against some of the best pros in the world. To be getting that type of praise from him, it's no joke. Still, on the maturity thing, because of how well he plays, it's very easy to forget that Jude Bellingham is still only 21. In pure footballing terms, he should still be learning his trade and relatively just starting his career. But instead, he's mixing it up with the best pros in the world. What does his manager think about him?
I think it's rare to find a player with this kind of quality. And it's rare to find this kind of quality at 20 years old. I think he has a possibility to improve.
He's rare, truth that. It's quite rare to find a player with the qualities Bellingham has. He's an all-around, all-action guy who can contribute a significant amount both defensively and offensively. The way he runs the ball and never stops. Heck, he's been doing this from way back and might just throw it back to the time Pep Guardiola couldn't believe how old he was.
Can you believe that he's only 17?
I cannot believe it. Maybe he's a liar. He's so good to have 70 years old. He's a fantastic player. I saw one image like he didn't get the ball from the central defenders and how he shouted and how he demanded that ball to him with 70 years old means a lot.
Can't fault Pep, to be fair. Many people didn't believe he was 17 at the time. Way too mature for the stuff he was putting out. Speaking of putting out stuff, PitchHub is attempting to put out proper football content like this. And on your part, all you got to do is hit that subscribe button to the channel. That's it. A couple of people still have doubted Jude Bellingham this season. Lack of confidence. We're talking about a guy who came clutch with the hopes of over 57.7 million people just a few years back. He was clutch for England at the Euros. Big moments too. That's another excellent feature of Bellingham's game. He isn't fazed by big occasions or big games. In both the 4-0 loss to Barcelona and the 3-1 loss to AC Milan, if you could pick a couple of Real Madrid players who had positive moments and performances in both games, Bellingham will most certainly be on the list. This isn't giving anything to his critics. But just to be fair, Bellingham has found himself in positions where he should be scoring from, but hasn't. But then again, it's only shown the willingness of the player to learn right after. He's his biggest critic and knows he has a thing or two to improve. Looking at Real Madrid generally on the whole this season, the team is still trying to understand and get fluent with each other. They're still improving. With Mbappe's arrival, the tactical twist and the change in formation is always going to take time, and that's what we're witnessing now. It's affecting everyone, including Bellingham too. Yet again, these are players used to playing under pressure. Even Jude Bellingham too. He's still only 21, but he's mature enough to become one of the senior voices in the Madrid team. Before joining Real Madrid last season, Bellingham was already captain in Borussia Dortmund, a leader at 19. Heck, he was even a key part of the team that just missed out on the Bundesliga title on the last day of the season. The point here is that Bellingham is way more mature than he looks, and the coaches who have played with him can understand and see this, and that's one of the things that makes him so special. Another one is his versatility. It's easy to just classify the word midfielder as the middle part of the pitch, but even in that area, it's still a bit complicated. Ever wondered why Jude Bellingham used to wear the number 22? The same one that got retired by his boyhood club, Birmingham. Back in his academy days, both he and his coaches knew he could play as a 4, an 8 or a number 10. In football terms, the numbers carry difficult positions across the middle of the pitch. Bellingham is an efficient tackler and can play in that number 4 position as the holding midfielder, the box-to-box midfield position as the number 8, or the advanced playmaker in the number 10 slot. All positions which he has played in large parts for Real Madrid this season. Ever wonder why Madrid spent that much in signing him? It was because, in their eyes, he was a crossbreed between the old and the new.
Ball for Roberto Carlos, hooked into the penalty area towards Zidane!
Wearing that number 5 jersey now, it's like watching a remake of Zinedine Zidane, except this time with a perfect hairline. For all his worth, a lot of Bellingham's technical qualities go under the radar. He has the finesse and is capable of beating an opponent with a skill move, a dribble, dropping the shoulder and turning. The guy is class. If he wasn't any good, he wouldn't be ranking 3rd in the Ballon d'Or. This in itself is a major achievement. The 3rd best player in the world, still only 21 at that. Bellingham's come a long way in such a short spell. Last season, he was voted as the best young player on the planet, the previous holder of the Golden Boy Award. Jude Bellingham's achievements at his age just further goes to prove this. He's won the Champions League, did it in his first season with Madrid, and didn't just win it, but played a key part in the team that secured the trophy as well. Got the assist for Vinicius' goal in the final. He's been runner-up twice with England at the last 2 Euros, and in La Liga last season was voted the best player of the season. Add this to his Champions League Young Player of the Season award from last year, and at 21, what you have is a guy who's already achieved way more than some seasoned pros do throughout their careers. To say the sky's the limit for Jude Bellingham would be wrong. He's still got a long way to go in his career. I mean, we're talking about a guy who 10 years from now, despite everything he's done, would still only be 31, in the supposed peak footballing years of his career. If this is what he is now, then it's scary to think just how good he could turn out to be in future years. Now, there has been the argument that Bellingham's only this much PR because it's an English thing, with him being from England and the English media. But again, this is just an idea that makes absolutely no sense. From everything we've said so far and from watching him play, you just know you're watching a one-of-a-kind talent, a special player. The way he moves with the ball, how he defends and attacks. It's like Carlo Ancelotti said, rare, different. Heck, he's even getting praise from this guy.
It's the same. It's huge potential, huge talent. You go to the club that the environment was clean, was good.
Real Madrid's all-time top scorer and arguably the club's greatest ever player, Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo believes Jude Bellingham can become part of a new generation of Real Madrid talent, ready to make a mark at the club, just like he did all those years back. Want to find out how good prime Ronaldo was at Real Madrid? Just click the next video.